And hello, and welcome to this live author interview with Big World Network, the world's premier literary episodic literary network. I'm Jim McGovern, joined by co-hosts BWN Managing Editor and COO Amanda Mavison. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. And BWN CTO Mario Hernandez. Hi, Mario.
Hi, guys.
And Mario, you want to explain real quick how people can ask questions during this interview?
For sure. As returning people, you're all familiar with how we can do this. But for new buddies out there, there are a few things you can do. You can either email us at questions@bigworldnetwork.com, or if you have Google Plus or just a Gmail account, you can ask questions right here on our events page and everything. If you're on the YouTube page, I'll give you a link to the events page, or if you're already here, you should see a link and ability to ask questions. So please do, because I know Michael will love to hear any questions you got. So
let me have it.
Sounds good. And our guest today, we're honored to have Michael Young, author of BWN books, The Canticle Prelude, The Frozen Globe, The Last Kingdom, as well as the series Age of Archangels and Cardinal Directions. And he has many other published titles. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jim. It's good to be here.
Knowing you the last couple years, working with you and talking with you here just a little bit ago, you've got to be one of the most right-brained people I've ever met. Michael is an actor sometimes, obviously a writer, and also is a singer in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So you're definitely a very right-brained individual in a good way.
Yeah,
always in a good way. There's only good for that.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't use my powers for evil. No, it's been a lot of fun. I love it. Kind of a juggling act sometimes, but I find that having that kind of variety in my creativity helps me just shift gears. So I go and do music for a while, and I come back and I feel more refreshed for writing, and kind of just feeds off all the other aspects. So it's a good way to live.
Yeah. What captured your interest first? Reading, writing, or music, acting?
Oh, gosh, they all got me pretty young, but I probably have to say music because it was my mother who was really musical. She was a piano teacher and chorister. She led like children's choirs. So I probably music, followed by acting. I guess I got into acting about 5th grade, and about the same time with writing. But I didn't get very serious about writing until a little bit later, kind of high school age. I always enjoyed it, but then in high school I kind of decided, okay, I really want to, I want to try to write a novel actually, or try to write stuff that other people want to read, not just kind of write for fun.
Yeah. How old were you when you realized you had a truly talented singing voice, of the caliber to be in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir? I mean,
it's funny. When I was growing up, I'd sing even for like the children's programs. We had different children's programs through our church, and so I'd sing in that, and people would come up to me and said, "Oh, little Mike, you should sing in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir someday. You should be great at that." It's kind of a big thing in our church, and so they kind of just said that to me, kind of, "Oh, what a nice voice you have. You should sing in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir." And so I kind of got this idea from an early age, like, I want to. I'll try. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'll try. And so it's kind of funny. I was only about 5 or 6 when people started saying that. That's why I started doing some of these children's programs. So it's kind of cool to see that it actually did work out. Now, about 20 years down the road.
Yeah, but before we went live, we were talking with Michael about the traveling with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and all that's involved in the number of pieces that you have to learn. I have to ask you, with 2 boys, with a job, with writing, with being in the choir, how do you find time for everything? How do you manage your time?
Yeah, well, luckily in addition to all that, I've gotten pretty talented at managing my time. I believe it's not so much that I have a lot, I'm able to find a lot more time than others. I find that it's really consistency that's the key. just taking a little bits at a time, doing a little writing every day, working on a little bit of music every day, or whatever it is. And just if it's that slow and steady, committed nature that lets me eventually turn out all of these finished products, and do all the rehearsing I need to, and whatnot. It's slow and steady, I guess.
Genuinely impressed. I'm genuinely impressed.
Thanks.
So your series with Big World Network have all, of course, started out as episodic series, and then, of course, were published into books. How well did the episodic writing fit in with your style of writing? Because you had published before that, so
yeah.
Was it a challenge? Did it mesh nicely?
It meshed pretty nicely. It was a little bit of just kind of an adjustment at first because I had never really done that, but it had always been something that intrigued me because I'd seen just through some of my studying about other authors how a lot of the great authors in the past published episodically, like your Charles Dickens, for example.
Never heard of him. No.
No, he a lot of his great works appeared in the newspaper. Couldn't do it on the internet back then, but they just bit by bit these huge masterwork novels appeared, a little bit at a time in the newspaper. And I just thought, that's due for a resurgence. So when I saw that, I thought, I really want to try my hand at that because I think that could be a really interesting, fun, different way to use my writing, and I've really enjoyed it. So
I would ask if the deadlines were an issue, but you're actually very good about being on time with your and again having to be so organized with your life with everything that you do. I guess it probably wasn't too big of a challenge.
Yeah, I also work under the rule that if I can get ahead on something, I get ahead on it. If I finish one thing that I need to get done, I look to see if I can get a little bit ahead, not just where I need to be. So I find that works well with schoolwork or writing or whatever. It's just kind of how I try to get things done. And I find that stuff always comes up in life, and then if you get a little bit ahead, it's not going to be a catastrophe when you hit a week and you get struck down with the flu or whatever. And you can't do anything for a while. So
yeah. So I always ask this, and I find it extremely fascinating, and there's so many different answers. But when you write, do you generally work with an outline with a predetermined arc, or do you know the end of a story when you start it? Does it kind of find itself as you write?
So I write. I kind of describe it as a fence post method, where I do like to have a kind of a skeletal outline at least. Where I've got the different fence posts along the way, and then I have but I leave myself enough so that I can fill in the gaps between the posts as I go along a little bit. Give myself a little bit of freedom to not have to be completely fenced in by the outline. Because a lot of the fun in writing to me is just kind of discovering new things.
Yeah.
So that you think about as you're going along and kind of make it more of an organic story. But I do like having, at least knowing like where I'm going to start, what's my inciting incident, what are some important things along the way that absolutely need to happen, and then I do have an idea about where I'm going to end up, because I feel like I need to at least be aiming in a direction, and to make sure that that's satisfying at the end, because last thing you leave them with, you really want to stick the landing. So I do at least figure that out, but a lot of the stuff in between I just like to kind of discover as I go along.
Sure. Well, Amanda's going to ask you in a little bit here questions about your books and your series, but is there anything that you haven't written before that you would like to try writing? Any particular genre or,
That's a good one. I'd love to write a really good mystery, like a straight up mystery novel. I think those would be really satisfying. I don't know if I've quite stumbled on the concept that I really like yet. I don't have a lot of experience specifically with that, but if I could, that's something I'd like to do someday when I get the right project for it.
Yeah. Before I hand it over to Amanda, just to remind everybody, you're welcome to ask questions on Google Hangouts, and as well you can email your questions for Michael directly to questions@bigworldnetwork.com. So we look forward to any questions that you have while we have a chance to ask them. Amanda.
Yes, so I am the lucky person who always gets to read everything that comes in for our submissions. Every chapter each week, I get to read it all. So I have a ridiculous amount of books under my belt now because of BWN.
Yeah.
And with Michael, his first one with us was the Canticle Prelude series, which is actually a prequel to a book he had published before he came to BWN, The Canticle Kingdom, that we have since done a sequel to, The Frozen Globe, so it's quite the arcing story now. Yeah. So why don't we start by how you got the inspiration for that one?
Yeah, that was one of those ones where I was, all my ideas come to me just when I'm doing something else kind of menial, and let it kind of like my mind wander a bit. And I remember for the Canticle, the Canticle Kingdom series, I originally was my second year of college, and I was working a job at Target. just stocking shelves and stuff, and of course it was a little bit of menial, and so my mind was wandering, and that the idea just kind of gelled in my mind. The concept, just the basic concept of the kingdom of people inside of a music box who don't know the nature of their world yet, for by and large. And so I always love projects that have something to do with music, of course. And so I thought I had that initial spark of an idea, and I kind of went home and started, making some notes about it, developing it into more of something that could be a plot and not just a concept, I guess. And just ran from it from there. And I thought that the first book was a lot of fun, but I really just thought there was more room for backstory, and some people who read the first book would say they wanted to know more about where some of the characters came from. And that's why I decided to work on the Canticle Prelude, and other people were like, hey, yeah, what happens next? So I wanted to continue in both directions, so that's what I've been doing.
Well, I absolutely love the idea of, a music cantor, someone magically shaping their world with music as the power source. I mean, I personally, I'd never come across anything in my fantasy reading quite like that, so I thought it was fascinating. Yeah.
It's hard,
right away, that made me like it. And it's really cool that this particular one has a lot of historical elements to it, too. It's historical fantasy with music, so you get all these extra European history tidbits throughout it too, which I really liked, which is very different than from the other works that we've seen from you too. Was it more difficult doing the historical side, maybe having to do research, than doing sort of, Age of Archangels eventually gets to a modern fantasy setting, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it was a little bit different. A lot of it I've actually based on some of my actual personal experiences. I lived in Germany for a few years, back in my early 20s, and just was completely immersed in the culture, and got to travel and see all these incredible castles and cathedrals. And there's one church in particular that I included in the Canticle Prelude that I love, where it's a German city called Eder Oberstein, and they have a church that's built literally into the mountain face. Like it's flush with the side of the mountain, and you go in the church, you're like going into the mountain. And so I thought and the story about that, the local lore was that it was a brother who on top of the mountain pushed his brother off the top of the mountain while they're having a fight, and as penance built this church into the side of the mountain. And so that kind of local lore I thought was too cool to pass up, and so I got to use that in a book someday, and so I did.
Oh, it's always fun when you can use personal experiences like that and be like, I have to include this somewhere, sometime.
Cool not to incorporate somehow. So.
Well, it's hard for me, obviously. No, I was just going to say, it's hard for me to choose, which of the stories that I like more, because I've always really enjoyed any kind of biblical lore. So the last Archangel series was particularly fun for me, because I always like seeing all the different ways. I mean, you incorporate, other lore from, pantheon-type gods and stuff in it, too, which is a lot of fun. And that actually had a very similar story from Canticle Prelude. So we started by doing Age of Archangels, which is a prequel to the last Archangel book you did, and then now have since done the sequel to that, which is The Last Kingdom.
Right.
So it was the exact same story, kind of, but a different series idea.
Yeah, and I really love being able to do Age of Archangels, because it in the original one, it's called the Last Archangel. He kind of hints a bit at, like, he's got this huge past. You know, he's been a destroying angel for a long time, and had all these other adventures. So it was so fun to actually get to use some of the kind of the historical settings and like show him doing all of these things that he just hinted at in the first book. So once again, throwing in things like Pompeii and some of the actual, like, you know, disasters were like, oh yep, he was there, you know, just doing his job.
Well, that was always the fun thing for me, is wondering, you know, what little tidbits would be snuck into the next chapter with history and, you know, and mythology all kind of mixed together. That was definitely a lot of fun.
I love mythology too, and I think it's kind of fun to find ways to kind of connect all the different mythologies and say, like, you know, there's really is you know, different societies have believed different things, but really they're all connected in some way. You know, I think that's kind of fun to try to do.
Oh, definitely. You know, they all had to come from somewhere. Why can't they all have some semblance of truth somewhere?
Yeah. People tell the same story in different ways and about different, you know. Yeah, I think it's a fun thing.
And then actually our current one, which we also mentioned, was Cardinal Directions, which is it's a currently running series, and this one is particularly special because Michael had this idea of doing a series that was a BWN author collaboration. So the concept is, you know, he'd started off, and then we'd have a different author do each season, going through the sort of span of time and different cultures, but still with the same main protagonist. Yeah. And then he'll cap it off at the end. And so he started off with the first season, which is on the site now and in our rerun section. And very soon, starting on March 19th, actually, because this will be a Thursday series when it picks back up.
Oh, great.
Oh, she froze briefly. There she is.
There she is. I was going to pick up there for a second.
It's like, where is it? And so yeah, I'm just really excited to see the continuation of this series, because it's a bunch of different BWN authors together. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you came up with that idea and presented it to us.
Oh, you bet. I've always liked time travel stories, and I've always thought it would be. I don't know. I've imagined a lot of like what the actual repercussions of being a time traveler would be, and a lot of it's actually kind of bad. You know, there's a lot of there'd be a lot of heartbreak with that. You know, if you traveled to somewhere and you made friends, or you fell in love with someone, or and knowing that you really don't belong there, or that if you wanted to go back to some other time, you'd have to leave behind that life. And that's kind of what happens with him, unfortunately, is that he's traveled so much. He's kind of on this mission, kind of overarching mission to find a way to reignite the human race, to save them. But along the way, has actually made a life for himself in all sorts of different timelines. And at the end, when I pick up the story, he's told that his time machine is breaking. That he's going to have to decide either to stay where he is, which is he's kind of like the last guy on Earth sort of scenario, or he has to choose just one of the places where he wants to spend out the rest of his days. And so he has to kind of balancing his mission with his personal happiness, I guess, is kind of that give and take. And I thought that would be a really interesting kind of conundrum, because time travelers run into conundrums. It just happens. And so I thought also it would be interesting to have the other authors do it, so that it really feels like when he's in a different time and a different place, that it changes him a bit. You know, he acts like a different person based on his surroundings, the people that he knows. So it really will feel, each season will feel like a little bit of a different flavor, because he is a kind of a different person based on where he is coming to at the moment. So I'm really excited to see how it goes on. Like I said, it's in progress, but making good progress. And we've been collaborating with all the other people to kind of get a kind of just lay the groundwork for the series, kind of the rules, and then kind of refining each of the stories to a point where it's going to make an exciting, kind of standalone season.
It definitely makes me eager to potentially do more collaborations like this in the future.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
I certainly hope so, because when I first posed this to the authors, I said, okay, Michael has this idea, here's the different sections you could potentially grab. Who wants to grab up a season? And man, I think they all filled up in like that same day. Everybody was like, oh, I want that one. Oh, I want that. You know, it was very quick that people were like, I want to be a part of this. What can I do? Which one can I take? Yeah.
I was encouraged by that too. Like, wow, people, because I didn't know, like, it was kind of, you know, not a lot of that sort of thing had been done that I'd seen. So I was wondering if the people would be hesitant, but it sounds like they're pretty excited. So.
And now we constantly have more authors, so I'm sure there's potential for doing more things like this in the future. I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And then last thing I wanted to ask you about actually is you actually narrate most of your own series, and also then lended your voice to The Adventures of Phineas Fracture, which is one of our next author interview is actually going to be with Joe Gash. So.
Oh, nice. Joe's a good guy.
He is. It was a lot of fun having you guys collaborate too with that stuff. So we're always curious if by putting your voice to things, does it change how you envision the way you write as well?
Oh yeah, you know, I think it's actually really helpful, especially like with dialogue and writing dialogue and stuff. You know, the more I can actually like speak it out loud and kind of try to get, you know, not just the accent or the mannerisms how they speak, but like speech patterns and like making each character's voice kind of a unique thing that you could say. You could write a line and be like, oh, that's so and so, just by hearing how they say things, not necessarily, you know, listening to the voice they're saying. So. It's helped me a lot as an author too, and it's just a lot of fun. Like Jim said, I have an acting background as well, so it was kind of fun to try to think, okay, now how would he sound, or how would she sound, and just trying to inject some of the personality into each one of the characters, especially with Phineas Fracture. That was so fun because he wrote such fun, vivid, you know, kind of out there sort of characters that was just a blast to do that series for him.
Oh, well, we're so glad you also enjoyed it as much as doing it for your own, because we have quite a variety of people, too, who narrate. Some authors do their own, some don't, so we definitely were happy to have you on that one, too.
Oh, no problem. It really was fun. I learned a lot, too. So.
And I couldn't agree more, too. I mean, for my own, sometimes reading something out loud, I go, oh, that doesn't sound right. I've got to change that.
People don't
know.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? Well, you know, you always have to say things out loud, I think.
I've definitely done that, yeah.
Well, then next, I'm going to pass things off to Mario, who's going to go over some of the social sites and the other places where you can find more of Michael Young, and then get to some of our last questions.
Cool.
For sure. And there are still time to ask questions, guys, so if anybody's out there and wants to ask anything, please do. Questions at Facebook. Questions at bigworldnetwork.com, or right here on the Hangouts. Right. So I know you've got a few links for Facebook, Twitter, websites. If you want to share any of those with them, I got a few. So if
sure, yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
If we miss any, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
We got, let's see, so on Facebook you'll be found at author Michael Young, all one word.
Yeah.
Jim's got it up there.
.com/author Michael Young. That's my all things writing sort of page. So.
Yeah, and of course Facebook connects us all, so it's a good place to find them. Your Twitter is twitter.com/MDYBYU.
Yeah, I started that when I was in college. I went to BYU is my alma mater, and then MDY are my initials. My Michael David Young. So.
Yeah, so you can find them there too. You also have two websites. It looks like you have writermike.com.
Yeah, writermike.com is a good one. I post all sorts of my things about my writing there.
Very cool.
What's the other one that you have?
writermike.wordpress.com. I don't know if that's the same thing or that's.
Oh,
that's
sure.
Your blog.
You know, I'm transitioning right now. I have been hosting on Blogger. I'm going over to WordPress because I like it better. Just
yeah.
from the back end. But so for eventually the WordPress one will become writermike.com. But right now, as we're transitioning, those are both up.
Gotcha.
Well, I'll leave up the old one, the old Blogspot one, just because it's got a lot of great content still on there. But my new living one will then be on WordPress eventually.
Cool. So yeah, there's plenty of places to find him. So if you wanna give him a holler, tell him he's awesome, which he is.
I always never have too many awesome hollers.
Right. And now it's time for BWN 5 questions. So we got our authors these questions. They're kind of just fun, generic questions, but they can speak a lot. And so between ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, do you have a preference of how you like to listen or ingest your media?
Yeah, right now I've been actually doing a lot of audiobooks. I've spent a lot of time in the car, so that works a lot better for me.
For sure. Is there any do you like the voices, or do you just find it as a convenience thing, or?
Yeah, a lot of it's a convenience thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Can I take just a quick pause? I got a little.
Sure.
This is a crying child.
Yeah.
Crying child.
Yeah, I'll deal with that sometime. I understand.
It's all multitasking.
So you can tell we're live. This isn't pre-recorded,
Well, we have a lot of authors with kids. So that's one extra thing to balance in your life that I'm always impressed by.
Right.
Because, goodness, if he didn't already have enough things keeping him busy, he also is a father, so.
And he's still smiling. See that?
That's a good sign.
That's always a good
It's
thing.
okay. Yeah, they're good boys. And usually they're totally cool. They're just playing, but he is a 4-year-old.
They're still kids. Once in a while,
Yeah,
something's gotta happen. Yeah.
Some kid's gonna pick on the other one or something like that.
No, actually, they really don't pick on each other, which is great.
That's good.
The older ones are kind of the protector.
Yeah.
I wish I were growing up like that with my brothers, because
Instead of being picked on, right?
right.
Yeah, I have 7 younger siblings, so I'm the oldest all that. So it got kind of crazy like that sometimes.
Right.
Anyway, we're talking about audiobooks. Yeah, just kind of I do like the convenience, and I don't know. Sometimes the actual voices is kind of a two-edged sword. Sometimes I really love it, and sometimes it kind of ruins the book for me because they're awful. But yeah, it's more the convenience.
Cool. Do you have a favorite book? Maybe something that kind of got you inspired to do this as well? Something that you really enjoy reading.
Gosh, I just grew up reading a lot of the kind of the classic fantasy stories. I love Tolkien and Lewis. And then just kind of started from there and then branched off and just say, I was just asking my friends, so what do you guys like to read? And just kind of branched off from there and read everything and anything fantasy-wise.
For sure.
It's all right.
So this next one, you've written quite a few, books now and everything, and you've got a lot to choose from. Is there any world you would live in if you had a choice?
Oh, I'd live in the Canticle Kingdom for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty idyllic. It's based on music, so I think I would. Oh, that's a little friend here. Decided to join me. Yeah, I definitely live there. It's kind of a. It's quite peaceful. There's not a lot to it. It's very straightforward, simple, and peaceful, and for the most part, until my book starts, and then things.
I was gonna say until the plot.
Until the plot starts, yeah. But now.
So pre-Canticle would be the best.
I don't think I'd live in the world of the Last Archangel, though, because.
No, Apocalypse is a little bit frightening. I suppose.
I'm kind of worried we're headed that direction,
Right. It's gonna happen eventually, anyway.
So. I might not have a choice there, but no, I definitely live in the Canticle Kingdom over that.
Hi.
They're being good. Well, we're almost done.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have a big inspiration in your life for writing books, or anything that really inspires you?
Yeah, I've actually just seen some other authors from this area that I think have taken off on the national stage and really inspired. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brandon Sanderson, but he's
Oh, sure, of course.
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I've actually got done some stuff with him at conferences and stuff, and like I got to know him personally a little bit, and I kind of the direction I aspire to go. I would love to do some of the things that he's doing, just with kind of the reach that he's had and the kind of the incredible worlds that he's built. You know, I really look up to him and hope that I can imitate some of that success.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And just finally too, so obviously you have your genres you write in, you know, your supernatural and fantasy and stuff like that, but do you read that kind of same thing just for your pleasure, or do you kind of branch out to like something a little different that maybe you don't write right now?
I do read a lot of fantasy and science fiction. Though I do, and I love a good historical novel. And as I was mentioning before, I love a good mystery. I don't write a lot of mystery, but I love the ones where it's just very intricately crafted. You can see all the pieces come together at the end in a way where you look back and you're like, oh, you know, that was inevitable, but I didn't see it. You know, that both of my TV shows I watch or books that I read. That's one of the most desirable things to me that I really love when that element is there.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure and a treat. We've enjoyed it a lot. Hopefully we can have you back on again, and I want to remind everyone, you can check out Michael's series right now in the rerun section on bigworldnetwork.com. Of course, all his books are available on our site and at Amazon. I guarantee you won't be disappointed reading them. They're fantastically crafted stories.
Oh, thank you so much.
So we've enjoyed having you. Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that's watching this live or watching it recorded, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep up on our author interviews. And again, check us out on bigworldnetwork.com. Thanks a lot.
Hey, have a great day, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care.